can we get another few years out of it? So it's just something I want to look at as a whole, and so that's why I'm putting it on the list. It's definitely not because I don't believe the carpet needs to be replaced. I just wanted to make that clear that it's in general our small capital and how we're going to fund that going forward.
Okay, so at this point, all we've added to the list is the capital items, correct?
The capital items and then the concept related to that of evaluating, maybe applying those staff reimbursements to acquire the funding instead of
Right.
annual taxes.
Does, okay, so nobody, does anyone have any other items they want to add to the list on library, or are we just going to limit it to capital? So
we just put the carpet on, or the servers and the
Full
With the
capital
whole thing,
requests
yeah,
the whole
the whole
and your
thing.
comments
Okay.
on the receptacles.
Okay, I should go for everything.
Do you anything?
I'm not, I mean, I love the library, so I'm okay. I don't know, I may be regretting it on the
You want to start
27th.
the senior resource center once they have people
What?
here? You want to start the senior resource center once they have people?
If everyone is okay
Sure.
with it.
Questions?
Did you-
You have to replace the servers, I mean, your point you have.
That is the
Maintain.
recommendation from
Yes.
our network,
It's good.
network specialist, is that it's time to replace
Is
the
it just because it's on a replacement schedule, or is there something wrong with the server currently?
I do not believe there's anything currently wrong. It is somewhat of
Maybe
a, more of a
something.
preventative measure and a best practice.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Did you, trustee, can I just ask, in public works, their salary, I mean, their budget is almost 80% salaries and very similar. And you had made a request of, we don't like to cut anything from people's budgets because the departments know what's doable. So one of the things that you had asked DPW was, can you come back with $50,000 so that we know, what you would recommend? And it was like flower beds reductions, and it was small things, but is that something you're interested in?
I don't hear anyone else on the board talking about it, and I didn't see.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, but yeah, I mean, we have been asking the police department and public works department, I mean, we have definitely been, asking for service level, potentially reducing service levels and what kind of savings we could, I mean, we have a big gap, we have $700,000 that we have to find. So, it's a challenging budget year. But I don't hear any appetite on the board to talk about service reductions for the library at this point, unless anybody does. But I don't hear anybody say that.
I'm not interested in service reductions, thank you, but, like DPW, if you could just think about $50,000 and where that would come from, because, DPW didn't come back with less people, although that is one option at that very end, but it was more of a reduction in a few things, like a reduction in circulation for this type of, it wasn't a wholehearted, let's get rid of the service, it was more of, can we shave off some as a first measure, like smaller things going forward. So I don't know if we put that on the list, or, I mean, the library is a big portion of the tax bill, and so, we have lower taxes, so.
We may not have quite as many tangible things like some of those DPW item lists. I mean, if we strike, let's say, all of our 2- and 3-year-old story times and just do our 4 and 5, then, I mean, it's still the same staff member that's doing it, and so, I mean, it makes it, when most of what we do is hours of service at the desk and number of programs, it makes it challenging to shave services off.
But if there was a vacancy, I'd like to put it on the list for the reason of, I'm not saying it's gonna happen this year at all.
Sure.
I'm just saying if there's a lot of part-time employees, and would that be, is there one that may not be, I'm just as we move forward in tight budgets going on, I would like to have some information just like that.
Well, it sounds like you're interested in considering some potential budget reductions for the library. Are there other trustees who would be interested? I don't want to ask Rachel to do that if there's not at least a couple of us who would be considering that. So Is there any, no?
Okay.
No, I would just
interested.
encourage, as the year evolves, if you do get a vacancy, where the ability to like fund some of this capital stuff,
Yeah.
because it's just gonna get tighter, the whole village budget.
Yes, it is.
So the more we can drop to the bottom.
For next, doesn't have to.
Okay.
And we're committed with attrition to really, and that's in our strategic plan, we are committed as we have turnover to strategically look at, our workflow, are the right people doing the job, are we being as efficient as possible? And so when we do have, turnover and retirements, we will go ahead and take a close look at that, and keep in mind, that budgets are tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thanks, okay, so if you'd like to come back on the 22nd, we'll be trying to work through everything. Once you can ask them. Okay, see, let's do that, can I ask, can we go a little bit past 7:30, or do we have to convene in there at 7:30? What?
By statute, you're supposed to convene and then adjourn to go back into your special board meeting. That's what you're supposed to do, but it depends how late you're looking to go.
What's the pleasure, can we get through Senior Resource Center?
If, as long as we get a break
4
in between.
minutes.
Yeah, we need a break, yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick.
Okay,
I'd like to thank you for your support. The Senior Resource Center has been a success in the community in the North Shore because of the village board support in the past, because of our volunteers, and because of the Benjamin Fund. It covers our non-tax levy portion of the budget is 45% of the budget. We serve, so far we've had about 5,200 attend our programs this year. Our resource referrals are up, we anticipate that to grow. Our volunteer hours are up. I really focus on trying to keep people connected throughout their lifespan, and the older you get, the harder that becomes. So we're always trying to engage with various entities such as the library, historical society, women's club, other entities, so that we can extend our reach into the community and keep people connected. We've got a lot of programs going on. I'd like to share them with you, but I'd like to respect the time of the Elder Services Advisory Board that's here today, so I'd like to entertain your questions at this time.
do we have, does anyone have questions on this budget?
Yeah, the salaries are essentially flat. And I thought we were.
Well, there was some staff transition last year, and our benchmarks that we were using in 18 were a little higher than the actuals came in, so this time around it's a little flat, so.
So are people getting raises?
Where's their cost of living for every?
What was, there's some staff turnover, which meant that our actuals for 18 would come in favorable.
Okay.
Yeah, but
On budget.
are you budgeting, even when the actuals, so 2018, it was 31,000 based on this existing staff that's there today, correct? I mean, the same positions,
31,000, I'm not sure what number you're referring to.
adopted 2018 budget?
63,995.
Oh, sorry.
It's 18.
And so there is, you're just saying that there is a cost?
That includes COLA adjustments, it's a universal
Okay.
metric, yes.
So, quick question, for capital equipment furniture, what's behind the big increase there?
We're replacing some lobby furnishings. We did some rearranging to try to improve workflow in the office, so we're getting another lateral file. I want to get another piece of equipment for our ongoing AV upgrade that will help the equipment last longer. And I want to replace our desk chairs because as the day goes on, we get shorter and shorter.
Are they not working? Is that what you're saying?
Pneumatic function is failed.
And
How about we take those and you could, I have a red leather
Yes.
chair
You
that
got
I just have
a
to get a crane to.
Well, I noticed
Oh,
there's
yeah, well, I don't need that
I noticed
either.
there's $4,659 in lobby replacement furniture. I'd like to put that on the list.
That's through the Benjamin Fund, you realize?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
the only
nice.
part of this budget that is funded by the village's administration on page 87.
Oh, that's good.
Now, not that you can't obviously have feedback into the Benjamin Fund, but that is
Well,
why they're broken between administration and programming. They're two separate funding streams.
So
Meaning
everything,
you can't use Benjamin Fund for administration, so even if you saved, correct?
The, staff and overhead are not eligible expenditures under the Benjamin Fund.
What does Shorewood Connects, is that basically the cleanup?
It's our community organizing, it's the memory cafe, dementia awareness programming. It's the age-friendly plan that we'll be bringing back to you early next year.
Elizabeth, so your salary line, that's what we're considering today, correct, is, I think, extremely low. So, so it is, I would vote to increase it, but I have not heard that, thank you for being, judicious and not trying to increase our budget, but is there a need for more? I mean, we only, for every single senior service, we spend $100,000 a year, that's all they get, and I just feel like for some of the circulation study that we're gonna be doing this year, or in 2019, I know that you guys are gonna be a big participant, is there a need for more staff?
Well, it would certainly be helpful to have another, part-time person, but we don't have it would be more helpful to have a facility that could accommodate the staff
Right.
that we have now, and the volunteers that's,
And we pay
we're
facility, right?
limited by space.
Do we pay facility, we just provide facility, Mark?
You, provide facility. If there were ever an opportunity, the Benjamin Fund could, fund any changes or facility enhancements.
And you're not proposing them,
Not at this time.
okay.
I have a question about the surplus applied, because it seems like the increase is that surplus applied was budgeted in 18 but not 19. But it seems like our 17, there was a fund balance of 55,494, and then some of that was budgeted.
Yeah, that is,
And we have a balance of 38,529, why can we not budget some of that?
well, in 2018, that was one of the metrics we used to achieve our budgetary goals in that fiscal cycle. And you're right, when you plug with one-time revenues or limited revenues, when they run out, they tend to create a little bit of a bump. The only thing I would revisit for the operations of the senior resource center is that the reimbursements from the Benjamin Fund are lagging. So we have to have sufficient fund balance to cover a majority of those expenses operationally during the year until we get reimbursement from the Benjamin Fund,
Why? Just based on,
Timing.
because it's reimbursement based, yeah.
I'm just saying, is that the,
It's a look back, so that, for instance, this year, the village did not receive the funds until July from last year. We're working to improve that process. The Elder Services Advisory Board has just approved that we make 2 requests for reimbursement, so that hopefully that will help the village budget.
Well, can't they go into a negative position for part of the year until the reimbursement comes in? I mean, do we really
Well, they
have to
could.
hold that fund balance rather than spend it?
Again, it's set up as a special revenue fund, would not be my first choice to intentionally run negative fund balances, but, with the understanding that this is a long-term relationship with programming and the Benjamin Fund, I think I would be able to get by audit review of that if we were negative cash at the end of the year.
Okay, so let's just throw that out of this too.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm not trying to slow down the meeting, but just in 2 sentences, what's the Benjamin Fund exactly? Is it a state aid program?
It's an endowment that is intended for the use of the senior center that, is currently worth $1.56 million. We received it at 1.2. We've taken our stewardship of that fund very seriously, and we have been very prudent in our expenditures. And it is our hope one day we will have the opportunity to spend some on some facility enhancements to improve the workflow that we are seeking.
Thank you.
so my last request, but thank you, is maybe coming into next budget, we can understand, I know you didn't propose it, but I do think without, you can't have additional staff or additional programming, and our elderly population is increasing, as everywhere in the nation, but I've looked at that strategic plan, and so I feel like there's a need, and there'll be a growing need, and so maybe by next year, you can come back to us and let us know what you would propose, in order to be able to increase your ability to serve the senior population.
She would need a new facility, she says. She
Well, I mean, there's a
has
lobby
space.
area, and, you know, there's spaces, there's a basement, there's a lobby area, whatever it may be that in your current facility, but I'd like your ideas as well.
Village Center.
Yeah,
I think we
we-
can bring
we
those
would
back
like
during
to-
the initiative cycle next year
Yeah.
and make sure they get
I think that's
proper
good
review.
direction, you know. Okay, do we have anything else in senior
So
resource?
what's on the list is to use some fund balance to
Yeah.
reduce the levy?
That's correct.
And some of the, oh, no, we're not doing any of the furnishings, so that's it, that's all we have is use of surplus, okay. That's it, no one has any other, okay.
No, I know there's people from Shorewood today here too, and I know that's stretching it a little bit.
I think we're over, but I will defer to the pleasure of everybody else.
So much here?
Probably, we can probably get through it pretty quickly.
Page 92,
Yeah, I would like to.
it's a 6-line budget.
Yeah, well, schedule another meeting.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
understand, on the schedule, the detail has like 36,000 for copy and printing, but the budget is 30.
Okay, I need to update that, that came in with the
All
late
of them.
revision.
All of them are.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Oh, are you in the show today?
Yeah, all the details.
I have a note in here, I can't, time consumption here, but it's use a surplus. Do we have a surplus that we could be utilizing?
Well, it's $16,000, and again, the reason that surplus would be beneficial is what if advertising revenues for some reason were to drop off, you're committed to a lot of hard costs.
Are
Right.
you? Because then it goes to 3 instead of 4,
Well,
I'm just,
Well, I mean, you're committed to the professional fee contract and publishing. You know,
The other,
are you committed to publishing?
The
This is
other-
all our-
yeah, it's not all.
Yeah, some of it is the contribution from
So it would-
the other partners.
Have to go through the
Where,
leadership.
where is the decision, so this is the marketing that decides what the amounts are gonna be?
Did you guys talk about that?
Do you want me to take over for that, Mark?
sure, Tyler.
Okay. These totals that you see in the budget are based off of the RFP proposals that we have, which actually the service contracts will be going to the board, tentatively October 15th. Trying to get there right now.
Was your question relative to the use of fund balance?
There's 2, but that was part of it.
Yeah, so just know for printing, professional fees, those are the recommendations from the leadership committee. The leadership committee already approved, but because the village serves as the fiscal agent for Shorewood today, that's why you as a board always have,
This is the
or
recommendation.
ask for approval. But all the other entities are part of the leadership committee approved the numbers that are in front of you today.
But if the copy and print costs are actually 36,000.
There are 30.
I thought Mark said.
Detail sheets are.
He needs
Detail
details
sheet is
wrong, he
wrong.
needs to
Okay,
fix that.
okay, all
And the
right.
reason why it's 30 is because we eliminated some of the number of copies as requested from the board. And in addition, when we went out to RFP, we got some lesser bids or bid amounts for the print.
I'm
So that's why it's
confused, 'cause-
lower.
Okay, so I'd like to put on the list the property tax contribution to Shorewood today, and the reason I say that, we say it every year, is the CPI has gone up, it's at 2.6%, or 2.6, I don't remember what it is, 2.6, it's higher than it's ever been. The advertising fees are staying flat, even though we are projecting $2,000 more, or something, $200 more, 2,000. 1,400. So every year we ask the same question, that's why I'm confused, because we don't approve our budget, so how could the marketing committee have okayed the property tax portion? We still have that authority, right?
Yeah, that's part of the proposal that MB Marketing Solutions provided to do.
But I mean, no one's ever agreed on how you come up with the $4,000, whether it's advertising or property taxes. That's something we have the authority to do as a board.
I mean, you can, but I'm just telling you, with the proposal that MB Marketing Solutions provided, that's the number that they provided,
We
that
haven't
they
approved
would
that
need.
yet. And we haven't approved that yet.
Right,
Yeah,
so if
but
you did that, we would have to go back to MB Marketing Solutions and see if they would still do it, knowing that.
Okay.
There would be less,
Which
yeah.
Paul is here, and you know, Paul, I don't know if you feel comfortable speaking to that or not, but.
I don't have any of it in front of me, and I'm kind of here on behalf of Michelle because she couldn't be here tonight. She's the principal of MB Marketing, and we're all subcontracted to Michelle. And the budget is a reduction in stakeholder contribution from, I think, 5,600 last year,
5850 to
right, to
4475.
4,500 going forward. So the total contract for labor and printing and distribution has a reduction in the contribution from all four of the different stakeholders. And so we didn't propose a solution that had a zero.
I'm just asking about specifically the line called advertising fees, because is there any proposal to raise those this year?
Oh,
It doesn't look like
not this
No,
year.
when I reached out to Michelle to see if, because I put an RFP to provide a alternative bid proposal for that, and she did not provide one for that.
And that's what I'm asking, because I just feel like the CPI is up, we're paying, we're going through this budget, we're paying according to our CPI for cost for inflationary purposes, but yet we're not raising the fees to adjust. So I do feel that I'd like to keep that on the list.
What's the CPI? Sorry.
It's the
Consumer Price Index.
Oh, you're saying, okay.
So our inflation,
Inflation.
it's gone up pretty high, but we're not
But
increasing.
what he's saying is we have we did an RFP and they responded and this is the list.
Well, we haven't
So,
approved the
Yeah.
contract, right?
But what I may recommend, if you want to put it on the list, and then we can have that ready for the October 15th agenda, where if you want to talk more specifically about that contribution, but just know, and I can reach out to Michelle, but I told Michelle provided a response that there would not be Shorewood today without any contribution from the partners.
What did we
So-
do with the other one where we reduced, but we had partners, we reduced it to like 1,000? We just did this in budget because we needed some contribution.
4th of July you're thinking of probably?
Remember, because everyone,
Yeah,
yes.
4th of July.
So
why
that's,
don't we just put it on the list and get going?
Decrease in
Okay.
taxes by 23%.
Yeah, this
Put it
is,
on
I
the
think this
list.
is
I mean,
one
it's
of the
pretty
best
lean.
bargains.
Yeah.
Remember, this is an amazing,
I don't know if we wanna
amazing
get going
product.
down.
I'll bring the service agreement October
I'm
15th and we
listening.
can talk about it in board level, is that okay?
yeah, that sounds
We'll
great.
do that
Sounds
based on
good.